Alright, this is my daily driver Jeep. Oh, it just started raining. It's got something like 160,000 miles on it. And the problem I'm having with it is that puddle. I think this Jeep's been leaking ever since I got it. And I replaced the rear main probably 3 years ago. And the well, there we go. And the timing seal. I did that about the same time I did the rear main. So it's fairly clean in there. I see a little bit of oil on the sides of the block. So that's either leaking down from the valve cover or blowing up from the pan or filter or something. I don't know. I'm going to start with valve cover. So I'll clean all that stuff up and replace that valve cover and change the oil and see if that gets rid of it. Alright, I cleaned up the engine, even though it doesn't look like it. It's she's a dirty girl. I don't see anything obvious where the leaks came from in this, but I did notice this thing had a rubber gasket on there, and it's super thin, and the way it covers is really strange. So I got a better Velcro one. Here we are. I forgot what it was called. It's not written on the box. It's a dry something. It's the same one that I used on the oil pan. Dry lock, I think that's what it's called. It's got these cool little anti-compression things, and there's actually a metal running through the middle of this with some like thicker rubber on both sides. I have high hopes, and well, this filter's rad. It's like perfect for my Jeep because it's exposed, so it's actually for a Ford van. Holds some extra oil in there, but it's it's like made out of sheet metal or something like that. Well, you know, thick sheet metal. Awesome. All right, I got the valve cover changed out on the Jeep, and I gave it a minimal cleaning, just with like a dish soap and water, and gave it a scrub, but it's still filthy, especially down there. So it's still really hard to tell if there is an oil leak. I kind of need to clean it up just to look for any new leaks, because this engine's got a good coating of grime, especially down lower. Yeah, the face of that transmission is really ugly. And where I noticed it the most was on the back of the bell housing. That's where the wet oil was, and that's my skid plate. It's just gross. all the stuff that I run over gets collected in that and gets taken out. So I picked up some stuff at Walmart. I got some plain old degreaser that's safe for plastics and rubber and things like that. I'm going to use that on the top, and on the bottom, secret weapon, Easy Off. I love this stuff for just for any old cars and stuff. I have a tendency to hang on, jet going by. I have a tendency to pick up really old classics, and they come to me just covered in grease and oil. So first thing I do, Easy Off. The only downside to Easy Off is that it turns plastics and rubbers and stuff, it turns all those things white. I'm not 100% sure why, but you know, if you clean them right away with some good, you know, soap, or you know, or arm roll stuff right afterwards, it fixes that. But Easy Off does the best job I can find at degreasers and stuff, and I gotta think that it's somewhat safe because you're supposed to use it in your house, in your oven, you know, around pilot lights and junk, so I'd imagine it's not really explosive. But I've got the Jeep pulled out to the street, and I did that just because I'm trying some stuff on the driveway here. It's an enzyme, and I don't really know what that is, but it eats oil as opposed to just diluting it like a solvent and bringing it to the surface to where you can wash it away. That's what I've done in the past, but solvents and driveway cleaners and stuff like that have a bad habit of taking a small dark puddle of oil and turning it into a much bigger light puddle or a discoloration in the driveway. This stuff's just supposed to eat it, and it says on the container that and on the website I researched the stuff on it, it said that you're not supposed to use solvents or anything along with it, or you know, before or after it, just because it'll kill the enzyme. And I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if that's I don't know if that means that this thing's like alive or what, you know. It's weird. I'll chalk it up to being microscopic sea monkeys or something like that. All right, it's been a day of driving. I didn't go very far, but it should be enough. Huh. Not bad. I don't see anything wet, but still a bunch of grime. That's just stuff I couldn't get off. Skid plate came out decent, and yeah, this stuff needs to sit on there for weeks. This enzyme stuff, all I do is sprinkle it on. It's a powder. I just sprinkle it on, sweep it in, and then mist it with water every once in a while. And it should be enough to clean it up. Those are rust stains. I'm not 100% sure where they came from because there's not a lot of rust on the Jeep, at least not enough to cause that. I think it may have been metal shavings from when I was grinding on something in the driveway, but whatever. I can always take that away with CLR, but I'm gonna call this fixed, I think. I'll keep an eye on it for the next few weeks or so, but it's at least a whole lot better than it was. I wouldn't feel too bad about parking in somebody's driveway or something, you know. It's not leaking like it was, but if it leaks anymore, I guess I'm gonna have to give some focus to the oil pan and the rear main. I did that once a couple of years ago, and I don't want to have to do it again, but seems good to me.